Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Marcella Robertson, and I'm an anchor reporter at WUSA 9, the local CBS affiliate in DC. I'm also a George Mason graduate, and when I was in school, I went to a lot of comm forums, so I am really excited to be a part of this. And I'm excited to have a conversation with Angie Goff. She is a Fox 5 anchor. She has her own podcast, Oh My Goff, and she is also a George Mason alumni. Angie, hi. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, to share your story. I know a lot of students are excited to hear from you. Talk a little bit about your role at Fox 5 now. We'll start with that and what you do there.
Right. I feel like it's hard to just say, there's one role that I do, because I feel like in this business, all of us, we do so many different things now. I remember at one point when I was working at WSA, I was a traffic reporter, and that's what you did. And then social media really started to take off, and that opened a whole new world, right? And from there, I started blogging and so forth. And then that led to a great job as an anchor and reporter at NBC4. And then from there, I ended up actually leaving the business to start my own podcast, which is another thing that so many people are doing now, really as an opportunity to be more creative and to find my voice. And as a result of that, Fox took note, and they approached me and brought me on to not only continue doing the podcast, but also being a host for a couple of their shows. So within the 2 years I've been here, I have probably done every day part. I have returned to the evenings, and I anchor the 10 p.m. news and the 6 p.m. news and the 4 p.m. news, and like it or not, a couple times every now and then. And then in between, just try to parent my 3 kids and 3 dogs and do a TikTok when I can.
I love it. You got a lot on your plate. And I know that, I think that's why a lot of people just relate to you too. One question that I wanted to get to too, it was from a student. Talk about your experience at George Mason. What do you recall, some of the classes that you took, and kind of what it is that prepared you for, the career that you're in today?
While I was at Mason, I would say one of the best things that students at GMU have is the access to Washington, D.C. and the DMV Metro. This is a gold mine for those of you who want to get out there and really get some hands-on experience, really go side by side with some movers and shakers in this business. And for me, I did like 5 internships. I think one was illegal. I don't think I even had it approved. I lied to do it. I did. But you do what you have to do, and it's meeting those people and fostering those relationships and nourishing those relationships that I ultimately believe is what led to my first job out of school and has pretty much led me on the career path that I've been on today.
Yeah. I know not a lot of colleges are in a town where it's a top 10 market. So you really do have that opportunity for some incredible internships. Talk about how you got to, I guess, what you consider your brand and how you define that.
I kind of just fell into it. Actually, an old reporter, I remember she wrote me an email about something, and it was when I was, so this is over 10, 11 years ago, when I was at WSA, and she was like, oh my gosh, so to this day, we credit Kara Gormley, who is one of the best reporters out there, or former reporters out there in South Carolina, for coming up with that. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, I love that. So it just became the name of the blog, and then all my friends started just saying it, and then it turned into Drop It Like It's Goff, and Goff the chain, Goff the hook, here's my golf cart. Like, it was fun. And I didn't really see it as a brand until like social media started molding, people and brands together. Like, it kind of just evolved. And I was told by a news director at one point that I should change the Oh My Goff handle on my Twitter, that it's frivolous. Like, I need to be just Angie Goff. And I'm like, well, I own that one too, because I am the queen of domains. I own so many domains. Like, I own every Facebook page out there in all variations, just because that is your name, right? You want ownership over that. But I really felt like the direction that social was going, with so much noise out there, it's like you have to have something that stands out, right? I mean, That is essentially what a brand is, what a personality is. It doesn't matter what business you're doing. So another news director who is dear to my heart, and I'll never forget it, she said, you are the CEO of your own career. And I still believe that. Now, if you become part of a bigger brand or say, for instance, like WSA or Fox, I think it is important to remember that you're not bigger than that brand, right? And so there's a certain fine line you have to walk, right? And it's really has to be seen more as like a partnership and a team, so to speak. And so, but that's been a hard transition, I think, for a lot of places, including some of my own personal experiences. But the way I view a brand and I view us as people, because at the end of the day, I don't want to say we're selling news, but we're saying, look, this is why you should give us a shot. This is why you should trust me. This is why you should watch me, is that a brand, as much as I love my peach coloring and my logo or whatever, and you put a lot of thought into that, right? Because that is important. It's not about the logos. It's not about the colors. It's truly the identity of your business, or in this case, of who you are, and what service you provide. And a very important one is one that we both provide. And more importantly, it's a way to build relationships with your audience. They know what they're getting. It also helps you build that trust factor, which is what we all want, which is the highest currency, I think, when it comes to journalism, especially local journalism.
You know, when it comes to this business, there are so many different ways, so many different jobs now, even with social media, ways to break into the business. You touched on it a little bit before. I mean, how important is networking, especially for students who are kind of, you know, sitting there watching this and don't really know where to get started? How important is it? How do you get started? Kind of go into that a little bit.
Yeah, that is hard, but I will say it is some of the top advice I give people. You got to find mentors. You got to find mentors, and you've got to do the work. You've got to show them why they need to invest in you. It's not enough just to reach out and say, I want to pick your brain. I mean, there's nothing that, and I've done it. We've all done that, right? But you need to bring something to the table. What are you willing to do? And are you willing to, you know, when I was in Iowa, I was the morning anchor, but you know, I'd wrap my shift on Friday, and then I go straight to the country club, and I was a server all weekend long to help make ends meet and to pay the bills. And so you've got to have your own story behind it, to have people want to invest in you, and you cannot flake on them. I can't tell you how many times people, you know, I put like my neck out there for someone, and then it just doesn't come through. And it's such a disappointment, and it's so disheartening. And so finding these mentors in places that you do internships, reaching out, I mean, it's easier than ever, right? With LinkedIn and social media, you never know. And the thing is that honestly, I had more people not respond to me. And this was back in the day before social media, but every now and then I would get an email back or something. And to this day, those relationships I've maintained over time, even though I haven't seen these people for years, even though I've gone 3-4 jobs in between. Hey, how's the family? Hey, how's it going? Because you owe them something. You do. And not only do you owe them something, but you also are tasked with passing it on. And you too can be selective. I mean, you can't help everybody, and we realize that. And you have to realize they can't help everybody. And that's why perhaps certain people won't get back to you. And people are in different seasons of their lives. But I really, really believe that mentors, not only are they going to be the ones that can maybe, you know, open up the door and then get your foot in, and then, you know, you have to blast through those doors and sell yourself, but networking and finding good mentors is more important than ever.
You touched on this too, where you said in Iowa, you left the station, then you went to go, you know, serve at the country club. It's a grind, you know, those small markets. I worked at a winery for 1.5 years too when I was in Charlottesville, my first job, because you need that extra paycheck. Talk about that, you know, because I think, especially Mason not being a journalism school, it's hard to realize and know really what to expect when you get that first job. So touch on that a little bit. And, you know, if students do make it into this business, what does that look like, especially that first job in a small market?
But I always say, do whatever job, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on camera. My first job was not on camera. Do the job that's going to get you closest to where you want to go, to the next step. Are you doing something today that is going to get you closer tomorrow? And the other thing, and maybe this is from being a military kid and just moving all over the place, and being able to adapt. But I always view everything as temporary. Look, I will give you my all, 110%. I will pour myself into you. You can't get all caught up in the small picture. This is really, especially when you're just starting out in your career, whatever it is, this is a big picture. You've got to, it is endless. You are not stuck anywhere. And really the only person that's going to stop you is yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. Any other advice that you have for students out there watching this?
Some of the best advice I got early on was report on anything, and this was just breaking into broadcasting, but report on anything and everything, and then narrow it down later if you want. You just want the opportunity. I did sports for a long time. You know, I took the traffic job for a while because I knew that that could lead to a bigger job here in my hometown, you know, doing something, getting back to my anchor and reporter roots. And I think that that's important to keep in mind. And but if you are, and also like on the side of that, if there's something that you are just so passionate about, become an expert in that. Like if you love cars, become an expert in that. If you love DIY, become an expert of that. So yeah, I just think that it's important to be okay with yourself, because if not, the consultants, the managers, and everyone, they will do what they can, you know, to mold you into what they are. And that's never sat right with me. You know, it's something that I've always struggled with.
Yeah, absolutely. Such good advice. Thank you so much. If you can just kind of quickly tell people where they can find you: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, what else? Email?
Yes. I'm pretty much Oh My Goff on everything, right? Oh My Goff on Instagram, Oh My Goff Show on TikTok, and the Facebook. Yep. Got the Facebook page still old like that. And what else is there? Twitter. Yeah.
Cool.
Pretty easy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know all the students appreciate all your insight. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So great to chat with you too.